say, supposing that a sort of deity existed, would natural evils be said to exist? Things like hurricanes, the effects of hurricanes. Not to say literally that tornado is evil, but to say that the effect that so many people were brutally killed in such a way from the effect of a disease, say a famine or a natural disaster. Is everybody content in saying that a natural evil is considered, by definition, evil? Or anybody take issue with that?
Not really.
I don't.
I think it's problematic though. I mean, can something that has no control or substance to that be considered so evil? You know, like, I mean, is it more so like incidental, kind of like, you know, something that just happens as opposed to evil?
The assumption is that God either made this thing happen or allowed it to happen.
So then,
So it's not just, it's not incidental.
So under that premise, then yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to say that, you know, the earth is the earth, there is no God, there is no power or whatever, and a hurricane strikes or an earthquake, you know, destroys a city, no, we're not going to call that evil. That's just bad luck or
It'd be natural.
yeah, whatever. It's just an occurrence. It would be incidental. But if we're basing the assumption on God, and that God has all these things, and He allows such a thing to happen, we call that evil or naturalism.
Okay. So, rough consensus, every time we're going to bring up a sort of defense to this, or a theodicy, which I'm going to explain, go ahead and make sure that before you even say anything, that you remind us what you interpret evil to be, so there's no confusion.
Yeah, I'd just like to see if everyone thinks about a third type of evil. I was just reading all this nonsense, and I've read Martin before, but I haven't, like, since I took one or something. So, natural evil can also be brought about by accidental, unintentional, or negligent human action or inaction. Do we refer to and put things like bumping down and falling, making a person fall down the stairs, natural evil, or do we call that something special, some sort of negligent evil or some sort of incidental evil? Because you're kind of combining the two categories where you're still hurting people, people are hurting people, but it's incidental, it's not intentional, it's not something that you try and do.
Well,
Could we go so far as to, in fact, take what you're saying and call that gratuitous, pointless?
I don't know. I'm just saying,
No.
do we lump that in? Do we lump it
Into a natural category?
No, but then,
category, so why?
but there can, like, it really falls into the question of intent, right? Like, for example, if you knowingly have AIDS and you unintentionally give that to your partner, like, although, like, that can be evil to an extent, it's still an intent. So, like, I don't know, like, the action within itself would be just natural.
That's a good question.
Well,
That's a good
like, wouldn't that be, under that premise,
AIDS,
it would be natural?
Yeah, if you don't tell the person that you have AIDS, but you know you have AIDS, are you, is it immoral to do that? Or what if you did
That would
tell
have
them?
to fall into moral, under the
What if you
premise.
did tell them, and you still gave them the AIDS? Is it less evil because it's their choice now, or do they have consent? Are we just talking about
Yes.
consent here? Because what about using that same example about bumping someone off a flight of stairs?
Yeah.
If you accidentally bump someone off a flight of stairs and they break their neck, and you witness this whole thing happen, but you don't call the ambulance or the cops, or even go down to see if they're okay,
Yeah.
are you now implicit in that evil as well?
you're morally evil for not.
For not acting, for inaction.
So that, I think that's more of a question of moral.
That's exactly what I wanted to say.
It's an interesting
than
gray
the
area.
act of evil. That's why intent is important.
Right. I mean, it's an interesting gray area because if you consider our legal system, there is a category of crime for just this thing. It's called manslaughter. You know, it's second-degree murder. You know, you don't intend it, but it happened due to negligence or some sort of accident. But ultimately, you will still get charged for a crime at the end when everything's said and done.
Right, but you're not going to honestly suggest that the laws of man and the laws of God or morality are synonymous.
No, certainly not. I'm just saying that there is a sort of categorization of this sort of phenomena that has been done, and maybe it would at least assist us into trying to categorize it by at least alluding to something that is similar.
But what I'm saying is that because there's such a wide gray area, does that gray area not deserve its own special category, or do we just lump that in with natural evil?
I think
you said you had
lump it into some moral evil.
Yeah, it just depends, like, if I accidentally knocked my daughter down, a flight of steps and she died, the fact that I accidentally knocked her over, I mean, it's gravity that caused her to fall. Like, I didn't push her, it wasn't my intent. So I guess that I would consider it a natural evil. If I didn't call the cops and just left her there, that's just kind of a moral evil on my part.
One more example. just say you're fucking around with somebody, small children are playing around, they're playing tag or whatever, and they start, like play pushing or, stage fighting or whatever it was, and so child A pushes child B intentionally, tries to push child B.
Not trying to kill him.
Right,
Okay.
but by that pushing, by that action, child falls off the jungle gym, falls down a flight of stairs, into a wood chipper, whatever. And so that child is either dead or incredibly damaged. Is that child responsible for that evil? Because it didn't intend to do it. And so, I mean, and even if it goes to that child and says, oh, can I help you, and blah, blah, blah. Well, why is it not, is it just intent that we're talking about?
As far as the moral evils, I think intent is involved.
Intent or negligence, and yeah, it's hard word to pronounce sometimes. Sometimes.
It's still really important to understand the primacy of God in the discussion, or the theistic tradition.
Well, if God intends to inflict this evil on the world, then we still get to call him evil. If he doesn't intend to inflict this evil on the world, and he can do something about it, and doesn't, then he's intending to inflict
Well, maybe
evil.
he
You
doesn't
can't
see
say
it as evil. Maybe you do. Maybe I do,
Well-
but maybe he doesn't.
Well, right, but since we don't know,
We don't know.
if we're going to say that God is all powerful, there are certain limits to our understanding of God. So what that means is, yes, if we all consider those things to be evil, then for the sake of discussion, they're evil. We can't just say, well, God probably knows better than we do. Maybe, but we don't get to call on God and say, hey, can I fact check this? I'm not really sure about
There's
that.
two examples on the table that I'm kind of looking at, and I think they deserve I don't know, maybe a little controversial, push them into these moral and natural categories, but one of them that stuck out was your AIDS example, and that's that if somebody knew that they were going to harm another person by their inaction, their ability not to let them know, that is just as, in my opinion, but it could be, of course, to interpretation, just as evil as, say the person who actually, did something like a rape or murder or something intentional, because it's by the action or the inaction, and that would constitute a moral category.
Right.
Okay, and then for along the lines of what you're saying, like somebody, kicking somebody not kicking, excuse me, but accidentally, maybe a big wind of gust just pushes me, and it forces me to hit a little child down a flight of stairs, and all of a sudden the neck cracks in half, it looks all zombie, like
It
whatever.
happens more often than you might think.
Yeah, sure. And so, I don't know, it seems to me that that seems natural. It does, because it's not intentional. There's no intent. There's no moral sort of push.
So just
to do
for
that.
clarification, you're saying that
Yeah.
all natural evils are predicated upon intent.
Yes.
And all immoral, even if you don't intend to give this person AIDS, let's say,
Right.
the fact that you do and didn't tell that person means that it's morally evil. That's where I get tripped up on, because if you told that person that you had AIDS and still didn't intend to give them AIDS, and yet you still did, you wouldn't call it moral evil. So why not? Because she knows about it.
Yeah.
But now you're talking about intent of one person and intent of another.
But
if that person
that
wants to get
disqualifies.
AIDS,
That's
They
not-
want to, then the other
Wait,
person's
wait,
not
wait.
evil.
That disqualifies
You're still
that
giving-
person's ability to choose whether she wants to consent and actually do
right?
it.
But
I think
we're
what
talking
they-
about. We're
Yeah.
talking about. Are we?
Do they want to because they want to have sex with the person without a condom, or do they want AIDS?
It really doesn't matter,
Yes,
because
it
if we're
does.
talking about
It
the end
does
result,
matter.
if we're talking about evil as the end result, like a natural disaster being evil because it kills a whole lot of people, we're not saying that the tornado is bad by just a natural occurrence. We're saying that the death of
Yeah.
thousands of people are bad. If we're saying that getting AIDS is bad, we don't get to say that it's bad because of the person who omitted the information or the person who intended to get AIDS or just wanted to sleep with the AIDS patient. We're saying that getting AIDS is bad. AIDS is evil.
But AIDS itself, like cancer, is evil. But the act, just because, let's say, if he has AIDS, but he's not an evil person, there is a difference,
I hope so.
So if he's like, I'm gonna give her AIDS, then that his intent, makes it morally evil. But if he's like, well, I love my wife and I want to make love to her without a condom, and they get AIDS,
It doesn't even have to be
it's natural evil.
Well, no, say
The person
he
has
doesn't
AIDS,
tell her,
but
say
not.
he's ashamed of letting people know that he has AIDS. So he wears a condom.
Yeah.
And he, it just says, well, baby, I don't want children or something like that. The condom breaks, like so many of these things often do, and then he accidentally, unintentionally gives her AIDS.
Natural evil.
Okay, natural evil, even if he tells her afterwards and then she says, oh, that's cool.
Natural,
want
it's
to
a
get
natural
AIDS.
evil. Well, it's a natural evil that she has
It's
AIDS.
not saying necessarily the
But
act that's evil, it's just the end result. That's
Okay,
what
so
makes it,
if
that's
all
why
we're talking about then
the
is,
primacy has to be natural.
so rounding this back to the beginning, if all we're talking about is natural and moral evils are predicated on intent or omission, then we have to say that you cannot be omniscient because you don't either know what's going to happen, or you can't be all loving if you're going to know these things are going to happen and then allow them to happen anyway. So just that argument, that whole long discussion we just had, either kicks out two